Hey there, internets. So, tonight's video, shenanigans involving Sideshow Bob Ferguson and Jay Inslee, and your natural gas bill if you have gas. I'm all electric, so it doesn't affect me directly, but who knows what happens with my next house. Maybe I move into someplace with natural gas. As the case may be, PSE decided they needed to pass on effectively the effects of the Democrats' carbon tax, the cap and gouge law, onto their customers. PSE has to get that money from somewhere, of course. And I found out via a post-millennial article, and I've got a Washington Policy Center article on it, which I will link to both in the description below. And because while I'm not going to read the articles so much, I am going to read some snippets from some of the stuff that the Washington Policy Center article links to, which includes the decision of the Utilities and Exchange Commission, and then I might touch on a letter from a group called Climate Solutions Northwest Energy Coalition, saying you should let them raise their rates, and a letter from the Attorney General's office, but from a woman by the name of Nina, and I'm taking a guess at pronouncing this right. I'm not trying to just deliberately butcher it, but I believe it's Sutaki. I'm guessing is how her last name is pronounced. That's a best guess. If I mispronounce that, that is my apologies. But in those letters is what's most interesting, because it's about a 3.25% increase, according to the articles. For the average Washington customer, it is about a $3 to $4 charge on your natural gas bill. Now that doesn't seem like much, $3 to $4, but it goes right back to every cost needs to be passed on, and ultimately the consumer has to pay. Of course, the attitude of this Climate Solutions group is that they should shoulder all the cost. It's PSE's proposed residential revision results in, according to them, a 25-cent per therm increase in residential gas customers, or 46% increase in the volumetric charge over current rates, but supposedly it's a 3.5% increase. This is passing 100% of allowance costs through to customers, exposes the customers to undue and unbalanced market risk, contrary to foundational regulatory principles. PSE's proposed gas CCA cost recovery tariff is a form of retroactive single-issue rate making, which is designed to ensure that PSE recovers 100% of costs incurred to purchase emissions allowances. Well, where do you think they're going to get that cost? They got to make a profit to exist as a company, which means they're going to have to get that money out of somewhere. It's not just going to come out of the owner's pockets, or they're going to eventually go out of business, and people that depend on natural gas for their heating and cooking and hot water are going to be up the creek without a paddle, because there won't be anybody to provide that. So it says passing 100% of allowance costs through to customers as a perverse incentive is antithetical to the purpose of the CCA, and is not aligned with the legislature's directive concerning performance-based rate making. But the problem is that who's going to pay that? Here's the other thing, and this gets right down to why all of this needs to be done differently. If you vote for these policies, meaning you're voting for Democrats, If you voted for Democrats for your state legislator, your state senator, or your governor, you voted for these policies because it wasn't Republicans that put through this policy that led to this. And you should know what the effects of the policy are in your life and the lives of your neighbors when you pass them. When you don't pass those costs on, and that's why some of the, there's a program called the Energy Project, which is for low-income people, and I understand wanting to help out low-income people out. Here's the problem. That just turns them into going, oh, well, we'll just tax those guys because we'll be fine. If you suffer the consequences of your policy vote, of the vote for who you're going to vote for, of you voting for Democrats, and them passing policies, maybe you'll have to rethink that, how you vote. And what the real scandal to this is not that the argument over should be passed on. No, is that Sideshow Bob Ferguson and this Nina Sutaki don't want you to know about this rate increase and why. They've ordered the PSE to stay silent, and it's been dug up by others. And in the UTC's part that starts off with, before the Washington State Utilities and Transportation Commission, it starts off with about a bunch of background points. In background point number 10, it says, the company explained that the program is new and the rules governing it are not yet finalized. As such, PSC contends that this filing is not meant to be precedential, but merely intended to start the program for customers. PSC asserts that the longer the price signal to customers is delayed, the longer it will take for them to respond and reduce their carbon usage. Well, that much is true. If you are not suffering the consequences of the cost, you're going to keep using carbon if that's the real goal. Obviously, that also means that you're not going to see the effect of your vote when it comes time to choose new leadership in this state. Moreover, PSC does not believe that customers should be kept in the dark about the costs the company is incurring on their behalf. The company has stated that it recognizes it must do what it can to cost effectively reduce its compliance costs on behalf of ratepayers. Finally, in response to TEP's proposal to use third-party data to identify low-income customers, the PSC expressed concerns that if it were to use third-party data source to identify low-income customers, there is a risk of ineligible ratepayers would receive credits due to the inaccuracy of those third-party sources. And that's a whole other item of who are the low-income people and helping them out, and maybe them not bearing the brunt. But again, that creates a big class of people who aren't affected by the policies they vote for. PSC is right. You shouldn't be kept in the dark. Every little tax and charge they should be allowed to put on there and let you know about, because that might make you a more informed voter. But in point 11 of the background, it says, Public Counsel has raised several concerns, primarily that the tariff revisions as filed place all the risks of the allowance market on customers, thus removing the incentive for the company to reduce its reliance on allowances. Public Counsel supports further development of NWEC's proposed cost-sharing mechanism. Additionally, Public Counsel raised concerns about identifying the state carbon reduction charge and state carbon reduction credit as line items, arguing that line items should only be included for those items that benefit the customer. That is literally saying, unless we think it benefits you, you don't need to know. You don't need to know what hurts you. They want to keep you in the dark. That money's coming out of your pocket because of their policies. That coincidentally, Washington voters voted down when they tried to put it as a ballot initiative. When they put it on the ballot in front of the people, cap and gouge got rejected. And to quote verbatim from the letter written by Nina Sutaki from the Attorney General's office, itemization of CCA charges and credits on customer bills. Public counsel is also concerned with PSC's proposal to itemize the state carbon reduction charge and state carbon reduction credit on customer bills. In general, program-specific line items on customer bills should only be used when including the line item that is specifically beneficial to customers. PSC does not provide a reason for itemizing in its filing. If all program-specific charges are included on the line items, customer bills would quickly become incomprehensible. Odd, you could put charges and things that increase your costs and things that reduce your costs. That shouldn't be hard to figure out. Maybe that's hard for Democrats to figure out. But to continue, specific charges were included in line items, customer bill. Let's see. I already read that. We believe the issue of whether to itemize these charges and credits on bills requires more discussion in upcoming workshops to ensure that itemization would add to the customer understanding and experience rather than unnecessarily complicate utility bills. Like maybe just tell us, which is what PSD wants to do. In the decision that is point 19 of these, and I would link directly to this, but it's a PDF and it won't let me. I tried making sure the link would work before I even started recording. Point 19, which is where they made their discussion and decision, it reads: second, we agree with public counsel that PSC should not include the proposed carbon tax reduction charge as a line item on customer bills. Public counsel correctly observes that including all program charges on customer bills would quickly result in lengthy and confusing bills. Additionally, only those charges or credits that inure to the benefit of customers should be included as line items on customer bills. For that reason, we require that the company also to include the carbon reduction credit on customer bills, which will also signal as an economic incentive for customers to reduce their own carbon emissions. Odd, you'd have more incentive if that was the real goal by including the charges. Here's the thing, is that, again, it just shows they don't want you to know what could be bad. One thing that's been going around that I've noticed is they bring up this line that says, additionally, only those charges or credits that inure to the benefit of customers should be included as line items on customer bills. Now, every time I've ever heard the word inure, it's like inured to pain, which is, and a lot of people talking about this are using that kind of a definition, which is, I looked up the word inure, transitive verb to accustom to something undesirable, which like to be inured to pain, to be inured to higher costs. But that's not to your benefit, so it becomes confusing. An intransitive verb to become of advantage. So but ultimately they only want you to know what they think is to your benefit, and not to know what could be not to your benefit. They don't want to tell you, oh, you're making this sacrifice for climate change. No, they want you to not know about it. They don't want you to say, I don't like my bills going up. My gas prices went up for my car. My truck needs more diesel, and that's more expensive because of this policy. And now my heating costs for my house went up. They don't want you to know that. They don't want you to understand that vote changes. Because maybe if people figured out, I vote for Democrats, my costs will go up. They don't want you to know that. Remember, I was talking to my wife tonight. I remember my dad saying, when I was a kid, I asked him, if you vote for Republicans or Democrats, Dad? And he says, Republicans, because they're cheaper. Well, this is an example of why, not just the tax issue. Democratic regulation, or an indirect tax in the form of the carbon tax, is raising your cost to live. So when you vote, yes, we have off year elections this year, which I'm going to address in another video later, because those are important. Think about that before you vote. Maybe you got to vote for a port commissioner. Maybe you got to vote for a county commissioner, depending on where you live. There are a few states that choose things like governors and state legislators in odd number years. Maybe you need to vote for some other kind of plan here, city council, people that could affect your costs. Understand, your vote affects the policies enacted and affects your costs to live. And so is the case when you vote for the state legislature next year, when you vote for your governor next year, or your House of Representatives, U.S. Senate, or the presidency. The people you vote for, with them come a set of policies and views that they will try and enact into law. So don't just blow it off and say, oh, it doesn't matter, or I'm going to vote for those guys anyway, and then wonder why your costs went up. There's a reason, and this is why. And they don't want you to know. They don't want you to see that reminder that, oh yeah, that law I voted against, they voted to put it in place, and now it's affecting me. So that's what I got for you tonight. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. A like and a comment is always appreciated, because it does help fuel the algorithm. Sharing it's even better. Until then, you all take care.